All right, welcome back. I'm just giving you guys a little taste of Ace Place out here in the open, in the safe, so you can know what you're signing up for. I want to discuss Know No Man by the Flesh. I want to give you a little bit of revelation on that. First of all, keep in mind when the Canaan was written, brought together, when people were receiving revelations, they received revelations in the manner they have the capacity to receive them. In that time, the social climate, the cultural climate was a man's world. So a lot of the revelation that was received was in the language of it being specific instruction to men. But that is not so. All instruction that was received by the prophets, by everyone who received divine download, was instruction for humankind, not men. Just try to kind of make that switch in your mind when you hear let no man, it's let no human. Know no human by the flesh. That's by your coat, by your failure, by your iniquity, or by your carnal inclinations. Know no man after the flesh. There are examples of this. This is the divine law, and I'm going to try and, by the way, everything that I say, you can research in a book called the Bible. I would recommend you getting one that you can understand or relate to. Stay away from King James. I would recommend this NIV Adventure Bible. It's a great Bible. It's not just for children. This is one of my favorite versions of that book. Everything that I'm saying, you can research in there. You could also find in the book of Jasher, the first and second book of Adam and Eve, the book of Enoch. There are many works of the Lord, many living words of the Lord that was indeed documented. So let's get started. There are a couple incidences. I guess I could start with Gideon. Gideon is very scared. He knew himself. He's like, nah, I'm scared. I'm the least among them. I'm this, I'm that. And the angel said, you are a mighty warrior. Anytime the angels approach you, anytime the source approaches you, anytime the helper approaches you, they're not going to see you the way you see yourself. They're looking through heaven's lens. And I'm going to share a little story about looking through heaven's lens and then eventually not looking through heaven's lens and how detrimental it can be to do that, or to stop looking through heaven's lens. But that was one example. The angels don't know you by the flesh. The source does not know you by the flesh. So you shouldn't know each other by the flesh. That doesn't mean you should not acknowledge what a person's flesh is dealing with or struggling with, but you should not define that person by the flesh. I had a really good acquaintance at one time tell me labels are dangerous, and that is true. There are a lot of people plagued by the spirit of narcissism. I have been personally affected by a person who definitely presented narcissism to me in the worst, most cruel, inhumane way. However, I do not refer to him as a narcissist. I say he presented narcissism because that's what humans are. They are presenters and they are vessels. They carry things. To call the vessel a narcissist is inaccurate. We're not trying to spare feelings by not labeling. We're just trying to be accurate. Another example of that is in the New Testament when the Messiah addresses Peter's apparent care for him when Peter says, no, Lord, you're not going to get crucified. Ain't nobody about to touch you. No, that's not going down like that. And the Messiah says, get thee behind me. The Messiah is not addressing Peter. The Messiah is addressing the energy and essence that Peter is carrying in that moment. Peter was carrying an essence and energy of falsehood, evil. What makes something evil? Anything out of alignment with the will of the source is evil. You can't even use your own understanding to differentiate or define evil from good. The only one that gets to do that is the one who decided what their will is and what their will is not. Because anything in alignment with the will is good. Anything out of alignment with the will is evil. I'm going to help y'all. I'm going to circle back. The last example I wanted to use was when the angel said, go to the apostles or go to the disciples and Peter. And this was after Peter had denied knowing the Messiah. Notice what the angel said. Go to the disciples and Peter. Peter was separated from the family in that moment. But Peter was already prophesied to by the Messiah that he would be the rock and the cornerstone the Messiah used to build the body. This is why it is important not to know a human after the flesh. In the moment of Peter denying the Messiah, Peter was a child of iniquity. Peter was a child of failure. Peter was a child of falsehood. But because we come from an eternal place and our source is eternal and the heavens are eternal and there is a facet of ourselves that is eternal and does not disintegrate when our body does, Peter's identity remained even though Peter was not presenting his authentic identity. This is a very important lesson because, and I'll just use myself as an example, there were times when I saw people the way the heavens saw them and I was able to serve them in a true and authentic capacity. But the minute I opened my eyes, the minute I saw their flesh, when you see people's flesh, it scares you. So you have to keep your eyes closed and your ears open, and your ears are your spiritual eyes. Notice the Messiah always said, let them that have ears hear. That's because that's the only way you can truly see. That's the only way you're no longer blind. The word never said the tree of knowledge deafened them. It said the tree of knowledge blinded them. This world has blinded them. And Messiah never said, let them that have eyes see. The Messiah said, let them that have ears hear, because that is how you are no longer blind. So for all of you praying, open my eyes, open my eyes, open my eyes, you need to pray to open your ears. Your eyes have already been opened. That's what happened when we ate of the tree of knowledge. Your eyes were open and your ears were closed. And now you struggle to hear and you struggle to spiritually see, because the only way you can spiritually see is by hearing. I know that was a lesson within a lesson, but trying to stay on point. Identity. Once you open your eyes to a person's flesh, fear does ignite. You start to get scared. You start to notice familiar things, maybe something that reminds you of a trauma or reminds you of something you feel you barely survived. You start to automatically enter a mode of self-preservation. Self-preservation makes a human cruel. Fear makes a human cruel as well. The meanest, cruelest human beings are that way, not because they're hateful. It's because they are afraid. They're afraid first and hateful second. Hate has a part to do in it, but that is not the root. The root of hatred is fear. The way to go about living a fearless life and properly acknowledging people who come in your life and their true positions is to know no man after the flesh. Now, when you meet people, sometimes you're going to meet them in an immature stage of who they are. There are prophets everywhere. There are apostles. There are disciples. There are poets. But there are men of Yah, women of Yah, children of Yah. You're not going to always be able to identify them based on what they're presenting. Their eternal ID is sometimes hidden by iniquity, hidden by failure, hidden by immaturity. If you meet a man or a woman of Yah and they are immature in some areas, you could be confused about whether or not they truly are a woman of Yah or a man of Yah. This is also the reason the living word tells us to love enemies as friends, because technically speaking, you have no idea who is truly your enemy. You have no idea. And if you go around treating an anointed one like an enemy, you could plague yourself. You could doom yourself. You could curse yourself. I know when I was 21, I acted different than, when I turned 25. When I was 25, I was different from when I was 27. Whoever met me in those years, you probably saw an immature version of me. You still saw something special because, my anointing has never hid itself. It's always been apparent to anybody I came in contact with. But there were aspects of my personality and aspects of my being and existence that I had yet to mature, had yet to learn how to properly wield. There were understandings I hadn't received yet, revelations I hadn't received yet. So sometimes I found myself in positions or, situations that I did not know how to properly properly handled, it does not take away from the fact that I was who I was. I was exactly who the Lord told everybody I was, and I was exactly who the Lord declared me to be. So it is important that you know no man after the flesh. Let me just help the superstitious people out there. A lot of y'all are going to a place of torment. If you're a superstitious person, you operate from a spirit of fear, and you're headed in the very place you don't want to be in. I got to talk about superstition because a lot of y'all are missing the identity of those who enter your life. If you study more demons than you do workers of the Lord, you're not going to recognize the Lord when the Lord enters your life. If you know more names of demons than you do of prophets, if you know more names of this dreamland that a lot of y'all just create with your imagination than you do the spirit of your source, you will miss the authorities or misidentify or just miss altogether the authorities sent in your life by the source. If that happens, let me tell you, if the source sends an authority in your life to refine you or to point out something that maybe you have been doing wrong, a prophet, the source sends a prophet in your life to warn you or to try and get you on track. A prophet is oftentimes the last resort before your judgment comes. So if I were you guys, I would stop being superstitious. I would stop affiliating elements and animals with evil. Expand your mind. Stop saying things like the spirit of Jezebel. The spirits that plagued Jezebel was the vessel. Jezebel was not the spirit. Jezebel was the vessel. Jezebel was not the spirit. The same spirits that plagued Jezebel plagued women before her and plagued women after her. A lot of y'all can't fight demonic spirits and demonic occupants in your spirit chamber because you're not even calling them what they are. You're not properly identifying them. You're getting caught up on the flesh. And the flesh's name was Jezebel, but that was not the occupant. Jezebel was the vessel. Every human is a cup, a plate, a vase, whatever you want to call them, but they hold things. You have to identify what was being held. Stop saying the octopus spirit. Y'all have a special place, and you're going to meet an octopus if you keep this up. I'm not here to mince words to you. I'm not here to spare your feelings. I'm trying not to be harsh. But I speak the truth of the Lord, and I'm telling you to properly identify what spirits are plaguing your lives and what spirits are occupying you or someone around you. Stop giving it a name of a carnal vessel that once carried the same spirit. You're doing yourself a disservice. And honestly, these spirits are laughing at y'all because they know you're going to meet them face to face and they're going to tell you their real name and you was way off the mark. No human after the flesh. So rather than saying the spirit of Jezebel, you could say the spirit of narcissism. Jezebel carried this. Jezebel carried that. You need to be as accurate as possible to be as effective and potent as possible when battling demonic forces. The only way you rid your home, your generation, your finances, your life of demonic influence is by accuracy and truth. Calling them things like octopus and wolf and snake and, all of these things that they're not, it creates an umbrella for them. It creates a covering for them. And they know that you still walk and speak by way of the spirit of confusion. A lot of y'all are going around talking about the Leviathan spirit. There is absolutely no such thing as a Leviathan spirit. Yeah, I saw one pastor talk about the twisting spirit. Leviathan spirit means the twisting spirit. These are magnificent creatures the Lord has created. I had this one talk with this Nigerian man at one point. I was telling him about water. People were talking about the way you could tell a siren or a mama water, which I've been called before, is they love water. I love water. Guess who else loved water? The Messiah. Y'all, this superstition is robbing you of your territories, is robbing you of your kingdom spouses, is robbing you of your platforms, it's robbing you of your understanding. Your perception needs healing. Pray over it and stop being so superstitious because this is why you do not receive revelation. See, you got to be empty. When the Lord says become like that of a babe, the Lord is not mincing words. Empty yourself. And a lot of those superstitions come from culture. Forget what your grandma told you. Forget what your mama and your daddy taught you. Forget what's in your folklore. You need revelation. Consecrate yourself and allow the source's energy and spirit to come into you and reveal truth to you. If you do not receive revelation, you do not receive the narrow path. There's a reason the living word says narrow is the path and very few will find it. That's because the majority is speaking just like you. The majority is superstitious. The majority is giving demons names that are not their names. This doesn't mean you should go into learning the names of demons. What I'm saying to you is practice knowing no human after the flesh, knowing no human after their presentation. You can acknowledge that this is what this person's presenting to me right now. I'm going to pray for them that they are delivered, they are healed from that. But be careful of labeling people, because if they turn up healed, just as Peter was reconciled with the Messiah, if they turn up healed and you're labeling them as a specific thing, you're doing yourself in. This is one of the lessons on Ace Place. I'm just throwing some things out here that we talk about in depth on Ace Place with the animated videos and all of that. If you're interested in learning more about this topic or other topics concerning truth and revelation, go ahead and go to www.aceplace.com. Start your journey. I love you.